Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is the Haves and the Have-Nots Season 5, Episode 23, and this is the season finale, and the name of this episode is The Veronica Show. And trust, Veronica went out with a bang with this episode, didn't she? But, before I get started, let me first, offer, my love and condolences to everyone that was affected by Hurricane Harvey as well as Hurricane Irma, and that if you can, lend relief or whatever you can do to help everyone that was affected by these horrible, natural tragedies, please do so. And definitely, I also want to give a shout out to my brother the Jedi. He definitely does great reviews of this show as well. I definitely love it when he calls Veronica Stormcloud. So I think he's probably going to have a really good video to go with this one. But and also let me also shout out some my other family members on YouTube. Lynette and Stanley of Random TV Reviews. Kyla from Rambling Reviews. Got you, girl. Misha Houston. Romy. And, James Caldwell, Ashley Miller, all of you guys, shout out from your boy Kenny here. So, let me get started with this episode because there is a lot to cover and I'm going to try my best not to be long, but if it is, just to be honest, bear with me if it does get long because I want to make sure I don't want to miss anything. But if I end up missing something, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Okay. The episode opens up, from where it left off at the funeral home. Remember when we left off, Candice opened up the casket and little Quincy was in there and she breaks down. And the episode opens up, the funeral director's there. He's trying to console her and the family because both, Hannah as well as Benny got very emotional. And around this time, Catherine shows up. We've seen what Catherine, came from, back at the house with Jim. So she's now at the funeral home, and Candice was like, "Why didn't you tell me he was in there?" And she was like, "I didn't think you were going to open it." But this was a part of the funeral, like we were, actually putting the last touches to the funeral because, the funeral was supposed to be the next day, but Candice came in there what we saw from the last episode, and she completely turned the whole thing upside down. And she is just recollecting everything, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's gray." And then she immediately starts again to turn her rage onto Hannah and was like, "You did that to him." Actually she was saying about War. I can't believe he did that to him. But then she again turns her rage onto Hannah and was like, "You did this. You did this. You wanted to make me suffer so bad. Why do you hate me so much that you would take the one thing that I love?" And she goes to say that I have never hated any person the way that I hate you, Hannah. And I can't wait till you're in a casket just like his. Or worse, I would be happy when you're in a pie box and I can spit in your grave before they put you in the ground. And she says that, "Girl, you just predicted your own funeral." And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, but no one's gonna have to spit on your grave because ain't nobody gonna even want to go by your casket, but the people that you lied, cheated, laid up with, every person that you done screwed, gonna put you in the grave." And she says, "I told you that you." And she said, "I told you. You kept going down this road. You keep doing this crap. Something like this would happen. I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen to me. I tried to get you to, to accept the Lord and all of that, but you never wanted to listen. She's like, and you keep putting yourself in the same situation over and over again. One, you were running from Quincy. Then you running from Ward. You are always running from something or someone. And your son got hurt in the process of that. Why can't you see that this is all you? That you had a hand in this? But then again, I have to disagree. All three of you had a hand in it. Because if it wasn't for Benny trying to kill Quincy, by trying to run him, trying to kill him in that car accident, Quincy survived and ended up running a car through Hannah's house. So Benny is the reason why you're homeless, Hannah. So yeah, while you walking around thinking Benny's the perfect kid, Benny got some shit on him as well. And Hannah, Catherine offered you a rental property for you and Quincy, and you turned her down. And then you just ended up being down at the motherfucking fountain drop. And look what happened. He was in harm's danger. Yeah, they were there looking for Candice, but you shouldn't have been there to begin with. Point blank, period. So you had a hand. Candice had a hand by the fact that this goes all the way back to when she was messing around with Jim, to everything she's done. She has pretty much put bullseye on herself, from everybody that wants to take her down. Now, she tried everything she could to get Quincy away from her or to get him attached from her so that nothing would come to him. But inevitably, regardless of how much you try to separate him, he's still attached to you because that's your son. So regardless, whether you try to put him in foster care or not, he's still going to be attached to you because he comes from your body. And next thing you know, like Hannah was like, but then, from that point, she was saying that, this is you did this. You brought this on. I told you to get it right with God. And she's like, God? Oh, you saying God did this? She's like, I told you to go to God. She's like, no, you go to him. Why didn't you go to him for my son? Why did you go to him to make sure that this wouldn't happen? She's like, you think that I really wanted this baby to die? You really think out of all the love I have for this child that I want that child to be in that casket? She's like, as mad as I am and as angry as I am with God right now, he is still God. So I was like, okay, Hannah, I'm starting to see you a little bit. But, she was still in her thing. But then she really got me left when she started saying that, look, I'm mad too. I'm just as mad as you are. You think I want to be planning a funeral for this child? But I know how mad I may be, how bad things may get, and how, frustrated I may be at this present moment. He is still God, and the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but that's become somewhat of a cliche in my opinion. So when you say that, you're likely to piss somebody off. Because I remember when, I lost my great aunt about a year ago, when people who I knew was telling me that, it just made me angry. Because it comes off, even though it's meant with goodwill, it can come off as being very dismissive, like, well, God took him, so it is what it is. Like, your feelings or the fact that you're grieving is irrelevant. And it can easily read that way. And Candice flipped out in her face. She was like, you can have your God. I don't want him. You can keep your God. And and then next thing you know, she turned to the funeral director. There will not be a funeral. I want him cremated. And walked out. And then after Candice walked out, Candice walked right up to Catherine, and they squared off at each other, and she just walked away. And then Catherine's like, you're going to let her do this? And she's like, it's her child. She's like, but you had custody of him. We can take this to court, and we can get this overruled. She's like, it's her child. I don't want to go no further with this, but I just say I'm happy that we at least, she says, well, I'm grateful that we're at least here to say goodbye to him. So that's what we're going to do, and if she wants to cremate her son, let her do it. So she pretty much opens the casket, and she speaks to him, and she pretty much, says that, when I looked at you, I saw, your Uncle Benny, I saw your mother, and, I saw God every time I looked in your eyes. And she says that, she pretty much talks to God. She says, like, take care of my grandbaby. Don't let him get scared. Don't let him be alone. I mean, this scene nearly had me tearing up because I was like, you really felt the grief and the sadness that she had to bury her grandson. And Benny, shout out to both Crystal Fox and Tyler Lefley, as well as Tika Sumter and Renee Lawless. They did excellent in this scene. They were impeccable. And, shout out to all of you. And it was a very emotional scene. And after she said her piece, they closed the casket and said, okay, he can now go, he can now rest, and that your spirit will always be with us. And she walks out with Benny on one hand and Catherine on the other. And that's how that ended. And it was a good scene. Then we pretty much have a scene with Veronica and Melissa. Melissa is still depressed, and she's still sitting in the room, and she's just like literally wiped out. And Veronica is not done giving her hell. She's like, so she asks Melissa, he's still not here? And she said no. And she's like, what good are you? Melissa's like, I can't make him come. She's like, the hell you can't. He's a man, honey. He doesn't have a brain. We have the brains. We're supposed to make them do what we want them to do. That's your job, and you're failing at it, and you're failing miserably. I'm like, oh my God, look how you keeping yourself. Did you eat? And she's like, no. So she calls Jeffrey and leaves him a message that he better get home, and she's not playing around with him because she's ready to take him down. And she's like, I made you this sandwich. And she's like, I made you some food. Are you going to eat? She's like, I'm not hungry. She's like, do I need to force this food down your throat? Because I will if I have to. And Melissa was like, you might as well. You forcing everything else down my throat. And she's like, oh, really? Sweetie, you really think that this is really bad? I mean, coming from where you come from, the only guy that you was going to get was going to be the type of, coming from where you come from, the only kind of man that you will ever get is the guy that will either abuse or use you up. Because you're not smart enough to get them before they get you. Now, eat the damn sandwich and throw the sandwich at her. I'm like, you disrespectful bitch. Dang. Like, this girl has been through hell and high water, and you're still giving her hell. And she says, and she's pretty much, she's like, look, and she's like, and look how the way you keeping yourself. How is any man gonna want you looking like this? And she says, especially, and then Melissa looked at her and was like, especially a gay one. And she was about to smack the snot out of Melissa. She's like, don't you ever let me hear you say that word about my son. I'm like, you are so evil and maniacal that you are so in denial. Your son likes men, honey. Jeffrey done been up in about 2 dudes since he's come out, that he was gay. Like, honey, Jeffrey been laying it down on the boys, because he got both of the boys sniffing at his heels. Landon and Justin, aka Glenn Close, got some fatal attraction going on. So Jeffrey must have some magic meat that are making the boys crazy, because aka Glenn Close, aka Psycho Cunt, has completely just went crazy off of the black peen, and he hasn't been the same ever since. But she was like, look, I'm going to be real with you. The only thing, this is, Veronica talking to Melissa, I'm letting you know the only thing that's keeping you alive is this baby. And that's it. Now, I suggest you get your ghetto ass together. And walked out. And I'm like, see, this Veronica's a mess. Then we get a quick scene with Wyatt and Hannah. I mean, Wyatt and Anna, not Hannah, I'm sorry. Well, Wyatt and Anna are out, you know, at the park or whatever, taking pictures and stuff. And while they're walking, they run into this priest, and immediately Wyatt starts to get shaken up, and he starts getting somewhat paranoid. And Anna asks what's wrong, and he won't say anything. But we all know this comes from the childhood assault that he received when he went to summer camp, you know, with the church, and that he was molested by the priest. And, you know, right now he's completely shaken up, and she was saying that, you know, do you want to go to the fire station? Because, you know, they're, you know, having a day out. And he's like, no, I don't want to go to the fire station. And he was like, you know, then she asked, are you kind of shaken up because of what you was telling the DA about your parents? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I did tell him a lot. And she said, yeah, you did. I mean, she said, and I could see the anger in you once you were telling the story. And she was like, yeah, you know, she's like, yeah, but I was glad I got it off my chest because, you know, it's time to, you know, clean my slate so I can move forward. But then she's saying, but then he asks her, like, you know, will it ever come a day where it will just be, you know, where it will just be good, where it will just, everything will just be okay? And she says yes. And he's like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, you know. But she's like, it's not that simple though. And Anna agrees, it's not that simple. The only thing simple is recovery. But there can come a day where everything is going to work out just fine. And he decides that he just wants to go back to the house, so that's what they do. Next, we get a scene with Candice and Jim. Candice goes to the hotel room and see that she's locked out. Jim is right down the hall, and Jim, being the self-righteous pig that he is, just goes in, well. Look what we have here. Dang. I just really enjoy seeing you down and out, Candice. What's wrong, baby? Your key don't work? I mean, if you want, you can come to my room. You know, my key actually works, and you can actually put in, you know, some time without getting any sleep. And I'm like, Jim, you really want somebody to put a bullet in your chest, do you? Because Jim just likes to try everybody. He pretty much has, I'll just call it what it is. Jim has the complexion for the protection and the collection, and he just thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and there's nothing that's going to stop him. That's the kind of mentality and the type of sociopathic, you know, neuroses that Jim Cryer has. And he just immediately starts being condescending. He's like, and Candice is like, why are you here? He's like, well, I'm down there at 3029. You know, if anything, won't you come down and, you know, we can have some fun. I mean, after all, after everything I've done for you, you owe me at least over 300 sessions or so. So you might as well start putting in work. And she's like, I don't need anything from you. And he's like, but Candice, where you gonna go? You're wanted for murder. You know, you can't go back to the streets and, you know, war's looking for you. And she's like, war's dead. And he's like, what? It's like, he's dead. And she's like, and how would you know about war looking for me? And he said that, well, you know, if anything, it could be because of the fact that you lied to him about how much money you had. So he's like, oh, so that's how he found out about the $7.4 million. She's like, yeah. And she's like, and then she looked at him and was like, he shot my son. And he's like, well, I'm so sorry, Candice. She's like, you're not sorry. And he's like, I am sorry because I know what it's like to lose a child. And she says, I had nothing to do with that. Well, then he was like, well, inadvertently, you did. So you mean to tell me that inadvertently you killed my son? And she said that, now how could I do that, Candice? How could, out of all of that shooting that went on, that I could get a marksman to be on the roof where he could actually shoot and just one shot miss Hannah and take out your son? How could that be? And I'm like, Jim, you evil motherfucker. Like, this girl just lost her kid and you are literally driving the knife in her chest. And she's like, Jim? And he's like, I don't forget anything, bitch. And walked off. I'm like, Jim, you are going straight to hell with gasoline drawers on, bro. Like, seriously, because that was way out of order. So she pretty much goes off and goes down to the lobby. She runs into Veronica. Veronica sits down with her because she's sitting at a table, and Candice is like, girl, get the hell away from me. And she's like, look, there's 4 officers outside ready to take you to jail. And she's like, I don't care. And what do you want anyway? She's like, I need you. And she's like, bitch, what do you want? She's like, look, I know that Erica, was working with War, and I knew they were trying to kill you. And I also know that Erica was your bottom whore, or as you like to say, bottom bitch. I was like, whoa. And then she's like, also, I got the video proof. I mean, I got everything, and pretty much she played the video for her where she's talking about, about War and about, pretty much their conversations that she's had with Candice in her room. And she played that some of the sessions that they had in her room or whatever. And also Erica trying to get her to stay when she was trying to get War over there to kill her. So she was like, wow, they was about to take you out. But what was it that you figured out that you couldn't trust her? That's a good instinct, and I like that. And on top of it, she's your bottom whore. But the thing about it, and she's like, and then all of a sudden, Candice was like, whoa. How the hell did you get all of this anyway? How did you do this? And she's like, the flowers. I sent her flowers. And she's like, she told me about that. But she said she threw them away. But she's like, honey, see, the one thing about you broke girls, you see a nice vase, you want to keep it. The camera was in the vase. She brought the vase back into her room, and I got everything I needed. So pretty much, I want her, and I know that you and her have something going on with David. I need the knowledge of what that is, and in exchange, you can have your freedom. And she says, I'm already free. She's like, no, you're not. And she kind of does a gesture, and all the 4 cops come in. One of them being David Ontunga. Shout out to David Ontunga. Made a little, pretty much like a special, kind of like a special appearance in this episode. And she's like, well, look, you either help me or, they can take you to jail. I mean, it's your choice. I mean, you already pull her strings, Candice. Let's both of us pull her strings together. And she's like, and then Candice was like, yeah, if I can pull those strings around your neck. And with that, pretty much Veronica signaled the police. They arrested Candice for the murder of Quincy, and that was the end of that. Then we get a scene with back at the Artesian Hotel where all of that went down. We get a scene with Justin and Jeffrey. Justin's like, your mom won't do this. She really won't do this. And Jeffrey is telling her, she will do this, Justin. You need to go talk to your wife. And he's like, and she's like, look, it will be better coming from you than coming from her. because she's going to do this. So you need to go talk to your wife, and you need to get to the bottom of this. And she's like, look, and he's like, look, I understand this shit, but she's like, I'm getting sick of her ass. And he's like, I know, but she's gonna tell your wife, so you need to go home and talk to your wife. He's like, man, forget all that. Won't you just make love to me, Jeffrey? I'm like, you psycho cunt. Like, Glenn Close. She just threatened to tell your wife about your homosexual tryst with Jeffrey, and you're still trying to get the D? Boo-boo! What is wrong? The lights just ain't going off in his head because he is, fatal attraction. They don't respond. They don't respond to what's actually going on. So all of a sudden, when he's trying to make his gesture to get some more of the black ping, a note comes in the door, and he's saying, and all of a sudden, Jeffrey picks up the note and is like, I know he's in there. And then they open the door. Veronica's walking down, and then pretty much, she's pretty much like, and then they pretty much corner Veronica, and she's like, look, I told your ass to be home. You didn't listen to me. So I'm about to head down to court, and I'm about to turn your ass in, and after that, I'm on my way to your wife's chambers and let her know about you and Jeffrey. And next thing you know, he pretty much Justin is ready to pounce on her. Glenn Close is so psychotic, she's ready to start fighting. She's like, and Jeffrey's like, yo, you need to calm down and you need to stop this. Won't you just let this go, Mom? What are you look, I'm not going back to the house. I'm not going along with your bullshit. Just let it go. And she's like, oh wow, protective, just like your father. Well, you about to. And pretty much, she's like, oh, so you protected just like your father, huh? The fool that you are, because, what I'm about to do, ain't nobody gonna be able to protect you, and Justin's like, lady, and she's like, oh, what you gonna do, girl? What you gonna do? And then he starts grabbing on her. She's like, oh yes, grab on my $4,000 outfit, yes. Yeah, keep going on. Yeah, keep it up. And I'm going to show you why Black Lives Matter. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, oh, Veronica. Because there's moments where I'm with her and then there's moments I'm not. That moment I was like, yeah, get him together. Because he immediately backed off. And she was like, and she pretty much was like, oh yeah, I'll see you in court. And I'll see your ass in divorce court. And that's where that ended. Then we get a quick scene with Melissa and a co-hanger. At that time, we don't know what she did, but we find out that the maid ends up calling Veronica when she gets at court, and she lets her know that something happened to Melissa, and Melissa's in the hospital. So she did something with the co-hanger, but we later find out, in the proceedings. But before she goes into court, she actually goes to Candice, and she's pretty much saying that, look, you can either sit in here or you can work with me. It's your choice. And she says that if I walk, I'm in. And she's like, okay, I'll call you. And she's like, but I'm in here. She's like, you won't be for long. So we see that going on. Then we see David. Then we do get a quick scene with David and Erica. She's still all bruised up. So yeah, that shooting did a number on her, because she's still bruised up. And she's like, oh wow, this place is so nice. I can get used to this. And he's like, and David's like, I bet you can. So please tell me, what is his name? And I'm like, David ain't gonna let it go. I'm letting you know, he is just like Veronica. Like they see something that is off, they will keep hunting until they get to the end of it. So, and she's like, She's like, he's like, I can help you. You need to tell me his name. She's like, look, can you please just forget about it? Could you just let it go? And he's like, and besides, we should go out and get some food, and we should definitely get some groceries because you have nothing in that refrigerator. It should just totally change the subject. And David is so, you can kind of see, David is a smooth criminal. He moves like a thief in the night. He is so, I think, is kind of on to Erica and her BS without actually saying it. So he's kind of going along with it. But he's like, I want to actually take you out and surprise you, And, and she's like, surprise me how? She's like, I'm going to take you shopping. I'm going to buy you some new clothes. And she's like, oh, well, you can just take me to a thrift store. So she's like, I ain't never took no woman to the thrift store. I'm taking you to the nice, to the nice and the finest, She's like, well, you just get me a few things. I'm like, you are such a scavenger slut. And he's picking up the signs. David is very calculating in his own way. You playing in a league that you don't even know you playing in, and he is just playing with her now, and I'm starting to see that. And she's like, but you don't have to spend a lot of money on me. He's like, well, I don't mind. She's like, okay. And they pretty much go off. So pretty much after before let me before they leave out, he gets a call from Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's hard-headed, and I'm gonna get to why, because he pretty much tells him, because he pretty much says that, look, I'm going to jail, she's gonna turn me in, and he's like, look, the body is is inadmissible, so how is she going to take you to jail? She's like, look, she's bluffing. She's not going to take you to jail, but let her do what she's going to do, but stay in that room and do not leave. And he's saying that, he's like, but Dad, he's like, look, I'm trying to tell you, stay away from your mother. I know it looks crazy, but do not go down there. Just let her do what she's going to do and just leave it alone. So, we see that going on, but in a minute I'm going to show you why Jeffrey's hard-headed. So, Veronica, before she's about to walk into court, gets pretty much sidelined by George, the DA. And pretty much, they go back and forth about the case or whatever, and George is fishing for a conviction with, Quincy's death, but also about Jennifer Salas' death. So he's bringing up everything. And Veronica is just being very dismissive. And she's like, well, I'm going to make sure that someone gets convicted in this case against Quincy Young. She's like, well, that's just it. Candice isn't the killer. And she's like, yes, she is. She and an accomplice killed this man. She's like, she didn't kill him. But I know who the killer is, and if you actually go into the courtroom, I'm going to show you in about 5 minutes, and after that, you'll know who the killer is too. And I'm like, Veronica is a mess. And she goes into the courtroom, and the judge that's presiding over the case is Justin's wife, Glenn Close's wife, but he's Glenn Close when he's with Jeffrey, just saying. So they pretty much talk about, pretty much while they're in the proceedings, George starts bringing up Lizzie, the girl that Wyatt ran over, and I'm like, George, you are really messy. You are trying to get a conviction in any possible way, but Veronica slayed him in court. When he was trying to talk about the case of Quincy and the body, and she's like, oh no, because they had a warrant to search the premises, but the actual state of the ownership of the property changed at 5 p.m. The bank owned it, so therefore everything they found in there was inadmissible. She's like, so when was the body entered? Around 6:37, like an hour and a half after the bank owned the bank foreclosed on the house. So everything is inadmissible, and the judge okayed it. The body's inadmissible, and then And then she said that, yes, I will ask that all charges against my client be fully dropped, meaning on Candice Young, because it was a case about Candice because they pinned the murder on her. And he's like, this is impossible. You know, Candice and an accomplice killed Quincy Young. She's like, but you don't have any proof, honey. The body's inadmissible. You don't have a case. So why do you keep reaching? What's wrong with you, sis? And pretty much, you know, with that going on, you know, next thing you know, she pretty much is about to end it, and then the next thing you know, we see Jeffrey along with Justin show up to the court. And I'm like, Jeffrey, you hard-headed dumbass! Didn't your damn father tell you to stay in the hotel room, but you gonna put your simple ass at the down at the courthouse, and then you had Justin with you. So he was making a stand. So after she cleared all that, she's like, oh, but Your Honor, I actually have a confession. My son Jeffrey is the one who murdered Quincy Young. So she's putting everything on him. So they both, you know, George and Veronica approached the bench. And she's like, are you sure you really want to do this? This is your son. She's like, you know, you can pretty much, you know, turn this case down and pretty much excuse yourself. She's like, I'm not doing that. I uphold the law. And if anything, my son confessed to me that he killed her, and I think he should be held accountable for it. And then even George is like, are you serious? You're going to do this? She's like, you wanted a case, didn't you? She's like, really? And she's like, yeah, car keys. I'm like, so yeah. So she kind of let George know, yeah, those keys did belong to my son. So yeah, my son was there and possibly killed Quincy. But yeah, he did, but he definitely didn't do it alone. So she pretty much says that, you know, Quincy, you know, Jeffrey is the one who killed Quincy Maxwell, and you know, Candice is innocent, and you know, pretty much Jeffrey acted alone in this murder. And pretty much, since the evidence is against them, they arrested Jeffrey. And then she said, oh, but Judge, another thing for you. I think you're going to want to excuse yourself from this case because I got something to show you. She turns on the TV, and it's the video between, you know, Jeffrey and Justin, and the wife finds out about her husband's DL lifestyle right up there in court. And this is crazy. And she even had recordings of the two of them talking. Like, she had that room wired and could hear everything going on in that room. And she's recorded everything and pretty much made a video of the whole thing and played it for the court. And the judge was like, I think I need to excuse myself. And we see that Justin is mad as all hell. Glenn Close is ready to sharpen the claws. And she pretty much said that, and then like Jeffrey was like, Mom, why are you doing this? She's like, I told you to come home. You didn't listen to me. So since you didn't listen, I'm no longer listening to you. Enjoy your stay. I'm like, you are so evil. You hate the fact that your son is gay that bad that you will have him go to jail. Like, what you think he's going to find in jail? There ain't no females in jail. So you just send him to a place where he could possibly have a party with some of the, you know, fellow inmates that may be in there. And Jeffrey ain't no punk. Jeffrey will fight. And Jeffrey is hefty with a knife. So, you just really turned your son out even more with your dumb ass. You should have just left him alone. But then she walks out and you see her and that Justin and Veronica square off, and she's like, you did this. You are the cause as to why all of this happened. So suck it up and deal with it. And walked away. I was like, wow. That was a crazy scene right there. That was way mind-blowing. So that was definitely a big thing. So then after court, we see that, and plus she actually lets Jeffrey know, oh, the reason why you're going to jail, your fiance, the woman that's carrying your child, just took a hanger to herself trying to abort the baby. And now I got to go and pick her up from the hospital. So I told you to come home. You didn't. So now I don't care what you have to say. So that was the end of that. Then Veronica and Melissa are driving home. She's pretty much telling her, like, wow, you just like doing danger to yourself, don't you? Well, I'm going to take you to my facility for your depression, make sure that baby that you're carrying is okay. And then, I had to drive your old raggedy ass car because, I wouldn't let you in mine because you seem to bleed a lot lately. I was like, you are so evil! Oh my God! I can't believe this! And then the next thing you know, and then also quickly we see that while they're driving, they go to a scene with Candice. Candice gets out of jail and she gets a call from Charles. Charles knows everything that's going on, so he's still got people watching her. And then he asks her, can she come to visit him in D.C.? And she's like, I'm not doing that. And she's like, please. He's like, look, I'm not going to D.C. and I'm not doing any of that. Bye, Charles, and hangs up on him. So I'm like, dang, he's still watching her even though he's not dead. Then it goes back to Veronica and Melissa, and while they're driving, there's this truck that pulls up behind them, and it's like ramming them from the back, over and over. And, Veronica is going frantic, and she's like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? What the fuck? And he just keeps ramming in the back of them, And Melissa starts laughing, and she's just like, and she's like, what the hell is so funny? She's like, somebody hates your ass just as much as I do. And then the next thing you know, Melissa took control of the wheel and made the car flip. So definitely somebody died up in that. It was done. And then we see that the person that was driving that car was Justin. I'm like, Justin, you done fucked up now, bruh. Now that you done took your anger out and now you done did something, like, we knew Glenn Close was going to check. But he went after Veronica because she took Jeffrey away. You took away his black ping and you had to die. But I have it on good faith that, Veronica's not dead. But I think definitely Melissa is. But I don't know. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but we got to wait, and it comes back in January, so it's going to be lit. But that's what I have, y'all. Sorry this thing was long, but this was a good episode, and it was a great season finale, y'all. So subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop that video. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And now we'll be back with the season premiere of the Have and Have Nots in January. So until then, everybody, take care.